Hello there, welcome to the ScrapbookPal's YouTube channel. My name is Terry and today we will be sharing a card that I created using some products from Avery Elle. So let's get started. So here's a close-up look at the products that I'll be using today. I am going in with Avery Elle Wreath Tag Sentiments, as well as the Wreath Tag Sentiments dies and the Pierce rounded frames. I will be using the bow and the frames to attach it to the wreath ornament. To start up my project, I am using one of the Pierce rounded frames, and I will be die cutting this out of an apricot colored cardstock. The cardstock that I'm using here, this one is from Fawn. So what I want to do with this background here is after I die cut the Pierce frame, I want to create my own background. So using the sentiments from the Wreath Tag Sentiments stamp set, I am placing that all over my cardstock. It really doesn't matter the direction of the sentiment. I just want to make sure I get as much sentiment as possible on my card panel. And once I was happy with the placement, I am going in with a white pigment ink pad, and I'm stamping that all over the sentiment. So I kind of was going for an almost tone-on-tone background, but I feel like the white gives it a little bit of elegancy. So I did have to stamp it a few times just to make sure I got a good impression. And once I was happy with that, I just flipped it over and wiped down my stamps. I'm starting the process over again on the other side of the cardstock. Okay, so for the wreath tag die, I will be cutting that out of khaki colored cardstock. And I'm using the inner piece of the wreath as well as the circle die that came along with that. I ran that through my electric die cutting machine, but you can pretty much use whatever die cutting machine that you have on hand. Now look how adorable this piece is. I just love the simplicity of this die. Okay, so from the pierced rounded frames dies, I took out the bow and die cut that out of white cardstock. So what I'm going to do with the white bow is emboss over it. So here I'm just placing it on top of a low tack tape, and I'm going to use my clear embossing powder and ink the top of the bow. Then going in with Fawn rose gold embossing powder, I pour that over the bow, and I'm going to heat set that using my heat tool. So I wanted it to be a little thicker. So once I heat set and it was nice and hot, I went ahead and dipped the bow piece back into the embossing powder to grab some more of the embossing powder. And then I went in with the heat tool again and melted that on top of the bow. I like doing this extra step because it creates a lot of texture onto our card design. And once the embossing powder cooled down, I went ahead and removed the low tack tape. Okay, so in addition to the embossed bow, I want to create a little bit of layer. So I went ahead and die cut a few of the bow out of white cardstock and just layer that on top of each other with liquid adhesive. So for the center of the wreath tag, I die cut the circle out of gray colored cardstock, and I am inking the sentiment "Deck the Halls" on the center of the cardstock. Now going in with liquid adhesive, I adhere the two pieces together. I also use my tweezers to fluff up the leaves on the wreath. And of course, I like adding little highlights and details with a white gel pen. Now going in with liquid adhesive, I adhere that to the front of the card panel. And the bow is added on top of the ornament with liquid adhesive as well. Okay, so before I put the twine on the ornament, there is this little piece here that's included with the die. I'm not sure what the proper term is for this piece, but it's pretty much the hook of the ornament that holds on to the ribbon or the hook to hang onto your Christmas tree. So I went ahead and added that onto the card panel. Now going in with my twine, I did run that through the hole of the hook, and I'm just playing around to see how I like the placement of the ribbon. And once I was happy with that, I put a few drops of glue on my card panel and applied some pressure using some small acrylic blocks. And for a little more interest, I added a few baubles here and there to the card panel. So now it's time to assemble everything together. So here I have a top folding card base in white, and I applied my card panel to the front of the card base. And here, that's when I realized that I wanted a little bit of gray color to peek behind the card panel to match the inner part of the wreath ornament. So going in with the same color gray cardstock, and I used a stitch border die to cut that out with my die cutting machine. And then I went ahead and adhered the final card piece to the gray cardstock and adhered the gray cardstock to the top folding card base. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. Just make sure that you hit that subscribe button to get notified of any future videos. Okay, until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. Bye bye.